When Amara Jones stepped into the grand halls of Whitmore Academy, she wasn't just the new girl. She was a challenge wrapped in quiet confidence. The murmurs started before she even unpacked her books. Where does she think she belongs? But beneath the polished floors and gleaming chandeliers, Amara was ready to shatter every expectation. Amara felt every eye flicker toward her. An unfamiliar figure in a sea of expensive designer clothes and carefully curated smiles. Yet, she held her head high. She didn't come here to fade away. Whitmore Academy was a fortress of old wealth and long-standing tradition nestled in the affluent suburbs of Connecticut. Ivy vines crept over its centuries-old stone walls, and every inch of the sprawling campus breathed privilege. For many, this school was not just an education, it was a legacy, a gatekeeper of social status and power. And for Amara, it was a battleground. 17, with skin the deep warmth of polished mahogany and eyes that carried the calm fire of determination, Amara was no ordinary new student. She had arrived here not with the backing of money or social clout, but with a scholarship earned through relentless study and late-night dreams. Her family had sacrificed everything, her mother juggling 2 jobs, her father working overtime at a warehouse, to give her a chance at this world, a chance to rewrite the narrative written for someone like her. Her first steps into Whitmore's hallowed halls felt like stepping into a different universe. The air smelled faintly of expensive cologne and old books, mingling with the subtle scent of polished wood. Students drifted past in small groups, their laughter crisp and clipped, eyes flashing in unspoken conversations. Amara's heart beat steadily, her senses sharp but her demeanor composed. "Hey, look who it is." The voice was smooth, coated with a sneer. Amara turned to see a tall, impeccably dressed boy leaning against the hallway lockers, flanked by 2 others who wore similar expressions of calculated superiority. Gregory Langston, the heir to a family dynasty known for its wealth and political influence, was the kingpin of Whitmore's social circle. Gregory's smile was a razor wrapped in charm. "New girl, Amara, right? Or should I say, the scholarship girl?" Amara met his gaze without hesitation. "That's me," she said softly, but with unmistakable strength. "And I'm here to learn." Gregory laughed, a sound that echoed with disbelief. "Learn? Whitmore isn't for kids like you. This isn't Detroit High." His words were a thinly veiled jab, referencing Amara's working-class roots. Maybe you took a wrong turn. A crowd had started to gather, drawn by the unfolding spectacle. Some leaned forward with curiosity, others with barely concealed contempt. One of Gregory's friends, a slender girl with icy blue eyes named Lillian, stepped forward and whispered loud enough for Amara to hear. "Bet she thinks she can just waltz in here and belong. How cute." Amara didn't flinch. Instead, she glanced around, noting the subtle power plays. The way some students averted their eyes, while others smirked like they were in on a secret. She knew this was more than a simple school rivalry. This was social elitism, raw and unforgiving. And it was laced with something darker, racial prejudice. "You don't scare me," Amara said quietly, her voice carrying beyond the circle. "You don't define this school." Gregory's smirk twisted. "Oh, sweetie, I define this school. I own this school. And you're just a guest who doesn't know her place." If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We are just a small channel trying to grow. And do not forget to comment where you're watching from. Thank you, and back to our video. His words were met with a few chuckles, but a sharp, unexpected voice cut through the laughter. "That's enough." The crowd parted as a tall boy with neatly coiled hair and a calm, steady presence stepped forward. His name was Elias Montgomery, known for his quiet intellect and reluctance to bow to social pressures. He was one of the few who didn't buy into Whitmore's toxic hierarchy. "Amara's right. This school belongs to all of us," Elias said, his eyes locking with Gregory's in a silent challenge. Gregory's smile faded, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. "Watch your mouth, Elias." Elias didn't back down. "Maybe you should watch your attitude." The tension in the hallway was palpable. Amara felt a surge of gratitude toward Elias, an unexpected ally in this labyrinth of privilege and prejudice. The bell rang sharply, signaling the end of the break, and the crowd slowly dispersed. But the message was clear. Amara was not going to be invisible. Amara's first classes were a whirlwind of unfamiliar faces and complex social codes. She noticed the subtle exclusions, the way her classmates arranged themselves in tight-knit groups, the whispered jokes that stopped when she approached, and the pointed stares that lingered just a moment too long. Yet, Amara also found moments of kindness. Small smiles from a few teachers, a nod from a girl named Sophia who seemed quietly rebellious in her own way, and brief exchanges with Elias that hinted at a deeper camaraderie. During lunch, Amara chose a quiet corner in the grand cafeteria, trying to focus on the book in front of her. But no matter how hard she tried to blend in, the weight of being the other pressed down on her. Gregory and his friends spotted her immediately. Well, if it isn't the scholarship sensation," Gregory said, sliding into the seat opposite her without invitation. His tone was dripping with condescension. Amara closed her book and looked up. "Gregory, we've been hearing all about you," he continued, his eyes gleaming with amusement. "The girl who thinks she can change the game." She smiled faintly. "I don't think. I know." His friends snickered. One of them, a tall, lean boy named Connor, leaned in. "You don't belong here. You're just a charity case." Amara's fingers tightened around her fork. She was no stranger to prejudice, but hearing it so openly was like a fresh cut. Yet, she refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her falter. "Maybe," she said calmly, "but charity doesn't define me. Hard work does." Gregory's smile hardened. "You'll learn soon enough that this world isn't fair, Amara. And it isn't kind to people who try to rewrite the rules." She met his gaze steadily. "Then I'll rewrite them." As days turned to weeks, the social battleground grew more treacherous. Gregory and his clique escalated their efforts to intimidate Amara. Not just through words, but through whispered rumors, sabotaged projects, and social isolation. Yet, Amara's resolve only deepened. Behind closed doors, Amara confided in her mother during late-night phone calls, sharing the bruises no one could see. The loneliness, the biting insults, the weight of expectation, but also her determination to succeed, to rise above. "I'm proud of you," her mother's voice would say, steady and warm. "They don't know what you're made of." Amara clung to that, letting it fuel her. In school, she sought refuge in her studies, in the debates where she could unleash her sharp mind, and in the growing circle of friends who saw beyond the surface. Elias became her closest confidant, quietly supportive and fiercely protective. One afternoon, as they worked together on a group project, Elias said, "You're changing the game already. It's just a matter of time before they realize they can't break you." Amara smiled. "I'm not just here to survive. I'm here to win." Whitmore Academy was a castle of privilege, but even castles have cracks. And Amara Jones, with her quiet strength and unyielding spirit, was the storm ready to find them. The halls of Whitmore Academy were no less intimidating on the second week of Amara Jones's arrival. If anything, they had grown colder. Whispers and sideways glances followed her wherever she went, but more unsettling was the calculated nature of the hostility. This wasn't random cruelty, it was a social siege. Gregory Langston, ever the orchestrator, had shifted tactics. Words alone were no longer enough to unsettle Amara. Now, it was about undermining her in front of the entire school, the grand stage where power and popularity were currency. And Gregory was determined to bankrupt her. It began one chilly Thursday morning during the first period in the cavernous auditorium, where the students gathered for a special assembly. Amara sat near the middle, books carefully arranged, trying to focus. Gregory sauntered in late, his trademark smirk spreading like wildfire. When the principal finally called the assembly to order, the chatter died down, but a ripple of anticipation lingered in the air. Everyone knew Gregory's presence meant something was about to happen. Without warning, the lights flickered, and a video began playing on the big screen. The audience's collective breath caught as the footage showed a series of photos. Amara's social media pictures, candid shots of her studying late, working part-time, her family at modest gatherings. The captions were cruelly edited with racist stereotypes and mockery. "Who's your sugar daddy now, scholarship girl?" A caption sneered. Another read, "Think you're fancy? More like a charity case." The auditorium erupted in uncomfortable laughter and gasps. Amara felt every eye on her, every heartbeat pounding in her chest. But beneath the surface, her mind sharpened like a blade. Before she could respond, Gregory stood up, his voice dripping with false magnanimity. "Just a little reminder that not everyone here comes from the same place. Some of us are born into this world, while others are lucky to scrape by. It's not personal. It's reality." The subtle threat hung in the air. Amara's cheeks burned, but she did not crumble. When the assembly ended, she was met outside by Elias and a small group of students who had watched in stunned silence. Sophia, the rebellious girl from the cafeteria, stepped forward. "That was disgusting," Sophia said quietly. "But you handled it like a queen." Elias nodded. "We need to make sure she knows she's not alone." Amara smiled, grateful but wary. This is just the beginning. The next days became a gauntlet. Gregory's crew worked tirelessly to isolate Amara, whispering lies, sabotaging her schoolwork, and spreading rumors that painted her as arrogant and untrustworthy. The more they pushed, the stronger Amara's resolve grew. One afternoon, while working on a group project in the library, Amara found herself facing a new kind of assault. Lucas Bennett, a popular student who had so far remained neutral, suddenly turned cold and dismissive. "I don't know why you even bother trying," he said, his voice low enough for only Amara and Elias to hear. "This school is not built for people like you." Amara met his gaze steadily. "I'm here because I earned it, not because I was handed anything." Lucas's smirk faltered. "It's not that simple." Before the conversation could deepen, Elias stepped in. "It is simple. You're just scared of what you don't understand." The tension simmered, but Elias's words had a quiet power. Lucas looked away, leaving the conversation unresolved but charged. Outside the classroom, Amara's mother called often, her voice a steady anchor. "How are you holding up?" she asked one night. Amara sighed, the weight of the day evident. "It's harder than I thought, but I'm learning who I can trust." "Remember, your strength isn't just in your grades or words," her mother said softly. "It's in your heart." One afternoon, the school announced a charity gala, the event of the season, where students would be expected to attend in formal attire and represent Whitmore's commitment to philanthropy and community. Gregory wasted no time. The night of the gala was going to be his stage, and Amara would be the target. On the evening of the gala, Amara stood backstage, her dress simple but elegant, a gift from Sophia. The hum of conversation and clinking glasses floated through the grand ballroom. Gregory approached, flanked by his usual entourage, all dressed in designer suits and dripping with confidence. "Well, well," he said with a sardonic smile. "Didn't expect to see you here. Thought you'd be too busy studying in your little library corner." Amara returned the smile, calm but firm. "I'm here because I belong." The crowd's attention subtly shifted as more students sensed the brewing confrontation. Whispers turned into murmurs. Gregory, feeling the need to assert dominance, stepped closer and loudly declared, "Let's make a toast to the scholarship girl who thinks she can play in the big leagues." Laughter erupted, and some students raised their glasses mockingly. Amara raised her glass as well, her voice clear and steady. "Here's to challenging assumptions and proving that worth isn't inherited. It's earned." The room fell silent. Gregory's face twitched, a mixture of surprise and fury. Suddenly, a figure stepped forward. The principal, her eyes sharp and unwavering. "That's enough, Gregory," she said firmly. "This school prides itself on excellence and respect. If you cannot uphold those values, you will face consequences." The room remained silent, the tension palpable. After the gala, Amara felt a surge of hope. Her quiet defiance had unsettled the social order, and some students began to see her in a new light, not as an outsider, but as a force. But the battle was far from over. As Amara walked across campus that evening, her phone buzzed with a new message, a threat from an anonymous sender warning her to back down. Her resolve hardened. This was the social battlefield, and Amara Jones was ready to fight. Not with fists, but with courage, wit, and an unbreakable spirit. The air in the Whitmore Academy auditorium was thick with anticipation. Tonight wasn't just another school event. It was the annual Voices of Whitmore debate competition, a prestigious tradition where the sharpest minds squared off on pressing social issues. For Amara Jones, it was more than a contest. It was her stage, her chance to challenge not just the bullies but the very system that bred them. As students filled the seats, whispers buzzed like electricity. Many were eager to see if the scholarship girl could stand her ground against Gregory Langston, the reigning debate champion and scion of the school's elite. Backstage, Amara felt the familiar flutter of nerves, but also the steady flame of resolve. Elias gave her a reassuring nod. "You've got this." The moderator called the debate to order, and Gregory strutted to the podium with the confidence of a man born to command attention. His opening remarks were laced with charm but underscored by thinly veiled condescension. "Ladies and gentlemen, Whitmore Academy prides itself on tradition and excellence. But today we must ask, can privilege and heritage truly be separated from merit? Or do they simply reinforce each other in a cycle of entitlement?" When it was Amara's turn, she stepped forward calmly, her voice clear and unwavering. "Merit is not a birthright. It is earned through dedication, integrity, and the courage to challenge injustice," she said. "To dismiss someone's worth because of their background is not tradition, it's prejudice." The crowd shifted, the weight of her words settling like a stone dropped into still water. Gregory sneered. "You speak of prejudice, yet you assume that everyone here is biased against you. Isn't that a convenient narrative for the underachiever?" Amara smiled, unshaken. "It's not a narrative, it's reality. But reality changes when people stand up and refuse to be defined by it." The debate spiraled into a fierce exchange. Logic, passion, and truth clashing with entitlement and arrogance. But beneath the surface, cracks began to show in Gregory's facade. Halfway through, Elias passed a folded note to Amara. Unfolding it discreetly, she read, "Look deeper. The truth is stronger than his words." The note was a reminder of the research she had uncovered about Gregory's family, scandals, unethical business practices, and a history of using influence to silence dissent. It was risky, but Amara had prepared for this moment. With careful precision, she wove these facts into her closing argument, exposing the hypocrisy behind Gregory's polished mask. The auditorium held its breath. When the debate ended, the judges deliberated quietly before announcing Amara as the winner. Cheers erupted from unexpected corners of the room. Some students who had once sneered now looked at her with newfound respect. Gregory's expression was stormy, but the veil of untouchability had been lifted. The aftermath rippled through Whitmore. The social order shifted subtly but undeniably. Rumors of Gregory's family's misdeeds spread quietly, and students began questioning the assumptions they had been taught to accept. More importantly, Amara's victory became a beacon for those who felt unseen and unheard. In the weeks that followed, Amara found herself at the center of a growing movement, a coalition of students determined to make Whitmore Academy a place of true inclusion and respect. One afternoon, as Amara and Elias walked through the campus gardens, Elias said, "You didn't just win a debate, you started a revolution." Amara smiled, the weight of her journey settling around her like a mantle. "It's just the beginning." Whitmore Academy was no longer just a castle of privilege. It was a place where walls could be broken down and new stories written. And Amara Jones, the girl who walked in with quiet confidence and fierce heart, had become the voice that would not be silenced. If you enjoyed our story, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories and don't forget to like and share.